Welcome back to It's Your Case, presented by VetCT.com. This is Heather. Today's example is a 16-year-old Cavalier. This dog presents with a severe tracheal cough and a very loud heart murmur. Now, in a prior video last week, we reviewed cardiomegaly. Today's case, as many of you have already commented and surmised, does also have a severely enlarged cardiac silhouette, but for vastly different reasons. Now, I want to highlight the difference between an enlarged cardiac silhouette, which is what I would describe this patient as having, and cardiomegaly, which is what we concluded about last week's case. The cardiac silhouette comprises the portion of the radiograph centered on the heart, and it includes not just the heart, but the pericardial structures. So when we say cardiac silhouette, we're talking about more than just the heart. We're talking about any pericardial fluid if present. Often we're also referring to pericardial fat that's in that region. Some other structures that can summate or silhouette with the pericardial sac or the pericardial silhouette include some of the vessels at the heart base, especially in the craniomediastinal area. So the term cardiac silhouette is a radiographic invention, I think I should admit. So anatomically, we are referring to several structures that may all be contacting each other and thereby silhouette or present as one structure without definitive borders on the radiograph. What is the difference between enlarged cardiac silhouette and cardiomegaly, or how do I decide which of those two things to conclude? Well, essentially, when I think that the cardiac silhouette has a very smooth, round, or globoid appearance, I'm much more likely to conclude enlarged cardiac silhouette than I am to conclude about cardiomegaly. I want to use the caudal cardiac waist here on this left lateral view to illustrate what I'm talking about. When we trace the caudal cardiac waist, we talked about how that really refers to the arch of the caudal aspect of the heart and whether it directs towards the carina or the terminal aspect of the trachea. In this case, you can see that it does indeed consistently direct towards the trachea or carina. However, it's very rounded and in fact has a globoid shape. The cranial cardiac waist in this case is actually quite ill-defined, and I think that that's in part because there's border effacement or silhouetting with mediastinal structures and especially probably the great vessels at the heart base. When I say border effacement or silhouetting, I'm referring to the same phenomenon. This phenomenon is when two structures are of the same opacity, for example, the heart and the craniomediastinal vessels. To be more specific, we could even say, for example, the right atrium and the craniovena cava. When two structures are of the same opacity and they contact each other, their borders will be indistinct on the radiograph. This is called either silhouetting or border effacement, depending on which term you prefer. So taking together this globoid appearance, all of this sort of border effacement with mediastinal structures, and this severe, and I would call this severe enlargement, we could conclude enlarged cardiac silhouette, and I would have landed exactly where many of you did in comments that have already been posted. This is highly consistent with a severe amount of pericardial fluid. So what do we do next? Well, this is an example of where the radiograph may only take us so far. Many of you have already suggested that we do an echo. I think that that would be a perfect plan. I can't show you an echo for this case specifically, but I do want to pull up an example from a report that was posted in JAVMA back in 2003. When you find a suspicion of pericardial fluid from radiographs, an echo is a great next step. The echo allows you to confirm whether pericardial fluid is present or not, and it also will allow you to sample that fluid or, if needed, relieve cardiac tamponade. So here we have an echocardiographic view, which is an ultrasound of the heart. This is a long axis right-sided view. I say that it's right-sided because the echo probe would have been up here on the right side of the dog's rib cage. Here in the far field or further away from the probe, we've labeled the left atrium and the left ventricle. Beyond the left atrium and the left ventricle, which you can see contain hypoechoic fluid consistent with blood, there's an additional area that contains lots of hypoechoic fluid. So this is the amount of pericardial space around the heart. Normally this would be just a whiff or not visible at all. Within this pericardial space, there's something else that's relevant here. These authors have labeled it CL or clot. It's true that in dogs with pericardial fluid, often the fluid is uniform and a one single echogenicity, but in this case, we have a hyperechoic clot within that fluid. That might tell us a little bit more about this patient and what's causing the pericardial fluid. Rarely, in dogs that have long-standing mitral insufficiency, the left atrium can become so enlarged that it could, in fact, rupture. This is what we were very suspicious of in this case. The reasons being, 1, the severity of the enlarged cardiac silhouette. It implies that this is not just an acute incident of pericardial fluid, but rather there was a pre-existing enlargement and stretching of the pericardium from cardiomegaly itself, and then on top of that, superimposed, there is concurrent pericardial fluid. The severe heart murmur would also support, especially in the face of this amount of pericardial fluid. If we can still hear a substantial heart murmur, that would also support severe underlying cardiac disease. Of course, echocardiography would be needed for definitive diagnosis. So, to conclude, when the cardiac silhouette is enlarged radiographically, we must first look for chamber enlargement. And if we don't see specific chamber enlargement and we're more perceiving this globoid or this generalized appearance, then we should make a more general conclusion about enlarged cardiac silhouette and consider causes of pericardial fluid. Echocardiography, as we've seen, is a key adjunct for pericardial fluid, both in terms of confirmation, treatment of tamponade, and sampling for diagnostic purposes. Regarding this patient's coughing, that's a whole other layer to this complicated case. You can see that at the heart base, as a result of this enlargement, there is some compression of the mainstem bronchi. That could certainly be a cause of cough, as we often note in our patients with left atrial enlargement. Another aspect of this case is that there's just a whiff of an interstitial pattern. I think it's worse in the left caudal lung lobe, but on the lateral views, you can see it maybe more convincingly that there's a generalized increased opacity in the caudodorsal lung field. To learn more about lung patterns, join us next week. Until then, be sure to review the full report associated with this case and join me as we start a review of different lung patterns. Thanks for listening, and remember, it's your case, so please post your questions on social media.